Welcome back to the news, everyone. It has been a kind of crazy last while. Blizzard are seemingly never happy unless they're nerfing something, even if that is nerfing their own nerfs, which is pretty much what happened to Brann. Thankfully, though, it's mostly in our favor this time around. There are loads of War Within things to talk about, but as it turns out, if you've only been looking at War Within, you might be missing out, because while we weren't looking, Blizzard basically went and made Classic Plus. Season of Discovery is very, very different to how it played whenever I last checked in, and it's actually kind of newsworthy. Plus, I mean, come on, it's Scarlet shit. People love Scarlet shit. No better place to begin than Bran bloody Bronzebeard. He's had a while, so he was nerfed like crazy last week. Way too much. Then he was buffed up over the following weekend. So where does he actually stand now? Is he good? Is he bad? Honestly, I'd say he's okay. So if you're a DPS player, the whole free ride that you had was over. Bran tanking is competent enough at tier 8, but he's a complete just wet tissue paper at a tier 11. DPS players should not take tank Bran above a tier 8. So if you're DPS, you're much better taking healer Bran and basically playing like you did last season. You know, interrupting, stunning enemies, watching for your potions on the floor, all that stuff. Now, if you're a healer, you really had a bad time for a few days, but after the last wave of buffs, I'd say he can now survive decently well. He is not as strong as he used to be, but certainly the changes include things like him taking way less AoE damage. That was a big problem. He would just get one shot by AoEs because he's sometimes too stupid to move out of them. So he's quite a bit better, but even with that being fixed, he still does take a lot of damage on tier 11s, and that means that healers do not get any form of free ride. You will have to play extremely carefully. I guess imagine you're playing a Cataclysm Heroic and you really do have to get every mechanic right. You see, the major issue here is actually his nerfed damage because, well, he doesn't kill things as quickly, meaning he takes more damage, meaning you are attacked for heals. But I've got good news. I've got a way around that. The Pacifist Rig Curio does unbelievable amounts of burst damage. It drops from the underpin. That does include when he invades your delve, but also just killing the underpin normally. And once it's at rank 4, it has enough burst to one-shot elite groups when it spawns. Now, if you've only used it at tier 1 or 2, it really does feel kind of useless, but at tier 4, it's pretty damn amazing. Should I say rank 4? As an example, we managed to clear a tier 11 delve on an extremely under-geared healer. It was about eye level 604, right after the huge nerf, right? So not even when Blizzard then went and made Brann a bit stronger. No, at the worst possible time on a 604 healer, using that curio, we were able to get through a tier 11 delve. The trick was to just go very slowly, can't say it was much fun, one mob at a time, and then when the green circle appears, which signals the rig spawn, you just go and pull the next elite and you watch it melt. Which is honestly kind of frustrating. It's not as bad now because Brann was buffed, but if you do feel like you need a bit of strategic creativity to get some progress, that curio at rank 4 will really help you. As for the rest of the changes, there are some delve-specific ones. I think the biggest one, though, is the Hobgoblin Trio is now a Hobgoblin Duo, so basically no more instantly dying to 3 huge auto attacks at the same time. So, at the end of the day, where do we stand? I would basically say this does feel closer to what Blizzard actually intended, and I do think it is way healthier for the game. It will suck if you were enjoying just unkillable Giga Chad Brann giving your characters essentially free progress and loads of gilded crests. Yes, that obviously felt amazing. But if a completely, say 50 or 60 item levels under the recommendation character is able to max out the hardest content, that does kind of break how progression works, and that is unhealthy for the game in the long term. The initial nerfs were way too much. I think they've walked it back to a better position now. If you're a player of Modern, seriously do not skip this because it is proper news that you should hear about. Okay, Classic Plus is kind of the dream that lots of people shared back in 2019. The idea, right? Yeah, Classic's kind of cool, but nostalgia, I kind of want something new. So people thought, what if Classic was actively developed instead of just, well, moving on to the next expansion? People thought about old school RuneScape. I guess you'd think, what if we got to see more of Azeroth itself without all of the game-changing crazy expansion things? Well, Season of Discovery didn't start out like that. It was kind of creative content reuse. But Phase 8 actually proves that it really is becoming Classic Plus. So get a load of this. We're getting the Ashbringer questline. It is finally there in Classic, so at long last, warriors, paladins, and obviously hunters will be able to undertake a huge old adventure to wield the Ashbringer. This is very cool. If you were playing the game, in the early 2000s, this was the kind of thing that was rumored, that really got people excited. That questline's coming as part of a broader Scarlet phase that's bringing loads of content around Tyr's Hand and the future spot of the Death Knight intro scenario. So a lot of the people you meet here are going to get slaughtered. Anyway, you get things like Scarlet uniforms, right? That you wear to infiltrate and sort of talk with the Scarlets. That's fun. Or if you're a bit sus, to roleplay as the Scarlets. There's a Scarlet Enclave raid. Yes, a full Scarlet raid that promises some really cool lore. As an example, like a Scarlet Crusade dragon, and even our first look at Lillian Voss. Of course, when we met Lillian as an undead in Cataclysm, we knew that she had a history with the Scarlets, but we didn't really know how she lived or died. Well, now she's actually a boss in this raid, so I suppose that answers that, which is really cool. And that's exactly the kind of filling in the blanks of lore that I think we wanted from Classic Plus. It's really cool. And with this, we're essentially seeing Blizzard move away from reusing and remixing content, and actually just them making new content for Classic. I mean, in another world, this would just have been a full patch for World of Warcraft called the Scarlet Crusade, which would have been awesome. So yes, you can think of this as the Classic Plus patch. It's dropping April 8th, but it's kind of technically not all good news. This is obviously not Classic Plus. It is Season of Discovery. It's got a 150% XP buff on right now, so a few people in my guild are trying to get maxed out in enough time to enjoy it, and they have already encountered, though, tons of issues while trying to catch up, which, was a little unfortunate. So all the progression is vertical, and it's not really that well mapped out. Essentially, Season of Discovery, because of how it's sort of came together, can end up being a large, impenetrable mess. It's a mess of cool stuff, but to some a little bit of a mess. So one trouble Blizzard may have is actually just getting new players into this. And new players will want to go and play this patch because it is so very new, so very cool. It may just take a little bit of learning to actually get in there. And that brings me to why I'm actually talking about this today. It's not necessarily to just say, go play Season of Discovery, but it is to say that Blizzard has a humongous opportunity. Once Season of Discovery is done, Blizzard should repackage it, repackage all that content, clean it up a little bit, launch it then as a new product called Classic Plus, and then develop it as Classic Plus. They've got the content. They don't necessarily have the right box to put it in because it is grown from an experiment. But man, it's really yielded some cool shit, and I would not be surprised if that was actually Blizzard's plan. And for our next story, Mythic Plus. And if you're not a key pusher, again, do not skip this segment because this time it's actually different. So, if you've felt like you wanted in Mythic Plus, but you basically just felt it would be too stressful, too hard, just impenetrable to get into, now's actually the time to give it a shot. Blizzard are nerfing Mythic Plus basically every week, and they've actually just went and done it again. As a bit of a recap, right? In the last 2 weeks, there's been a massive 10% nerf to everything across all of Mythic Plus, even including Mythic Zero. Then, almost every dungeon has been individually targeted with nerfs as well. Just massive health and damage nerfs to specific bosses, mobs, and specific abilities, basically the ones that were causing the most problems for people's runs. A good example is, say, the first room of Cinderbrew Meadery, which was a total nightmare, so they've removed the biggest problem, which was Chef Chewie's aura. Loads of mechanics have also just been slowed down a bit, so you've actually got time to move and react. It's kind of cutting down on that feeling of a bunch of UI things have happened, and now everybody's dead. I guess you just go again and kind of hope it won't be a big shit show next time. I think that's how Mythic Plus ends up feeling at those lower levels when you've got players who are not already super skilled and embedded in the way of playing it. So Blizzard are just trying to solve those problems, and between these giant nerfs and improved crest drops, which were added late last season, Mythic Plus is now substantially less frustrating and more rewarding than it was before. Now, it's not easy. It is still hard to time high keys, but what has changed is forgivingness. Basically, a lot of the unforgiving bullshit mechanics, the stuff that just did not feel fun, didn't necessarily feel fair, almost felt like, oh, Blizzard, are you sure those mechanics were supposed to overlap in such a punishing way? those things are kind of all gone now. So we're working on a full video on Mythic Plus. We'll be diving into the data, but for now I can at least say the vibes in the community are actually really good. And now it's time to talk about justice and punishment. So a lot of people are upset that basically exploits in Mythic Plus end up ruining leaderboards, and they've been asking Blizzard to do something about it. It obviously feels terrible if loads of leaderboard places are just because people exploit it. There's no word on that yet from Blizzard, but NetEase have kind of went and shown Blizzard how it's done. That's because just under 9,000 players in Chinese servers got their Season 1 titles and achievements revoked. But NetEase did not stop there. They just went and named and shamed every individual player on the official Chinese World of Warcraft website. Now, there are some characters that have censored names, but basically it is just kind of old school name and shame, which is spicy. Don't know about you, but I suppose it's a good enough way to stop reoffenders. Or perhaps it could set a little bit of a perverse incentive, because if you exploited so hard that you got named and shamed by NetEase, who knows, maybe that's a badge of honor. Anyway, they did that for Mythic Plus. They also hit 3,000 accounts for engaging in win training in Arena. So at least that's how one version of World of Warcraft is dealing with cheaters. We'll have to see what Western Blizzard wants to do. Now, I don't bring this up just to laugh. I bring it up because it might actually hint at the real size of World of Warcraft in China. Around 9,000 players had their titles revoked. Now, when you look at the official post, it specifically mentions the Tempered Hero achievement by its Chinese name. That is the title, of course, for being in the top 0.1% of Mythic score. So, if 9,000 players were in the top 0.1%, that means Mythic Plus has got 9 million active characters on Chinese servers. That's a hell of a lot of characters, and I'm sure there will be people with multiple characters with that achievement, sure. But for comparison, our Mythic Plus leaderboard only showed 3.5 million characters in Season 1. That's not far off, 1/3 of the size of the Chinese population, it seems. Now, of course, this does not account for people not doing Mythic Plus, right? Or the amount of alts that people have. Maybe they just love alts so much more over in China, but at any rate, that's a hell of a lot of people. I guess you can see why NetEase ceremonially rebuilt Gorehowl whenever they renewed the partnership. Let's cap this one off for the last Titan. So, Blizzcon is back. You may not have seen it. It's actually not coming back this year. It's coming back next year, September 2026. Now, to get the calendar stuff checked, that's basically while we'll be playing perhaps Season 2 of the Midnight expansion. So we'll be doing that, we'll be decorating our houses, and yes, there will be a BlizzCon. Now, after the last BlizzCon and then the anniversary event that they did in London, Toronto, and they're taking to other places in the world, gotta be real, my appetite for it is honestly kind of huge. They're really fun to go to. But this is the news, so what's more important, I guess, is announcements and things. In a way, anything's on the table, but there's one obvious thing in the calendar: the last Titan, right? This is when the last Titan will be revealed, almost for sure. And when they do reveal it, I've got to wonder what big surprising feature they'll have. I mean, a Northrend revamp is pretty exciting. Some of the core lore things, maybe Illidan coming back, Sargeras stuff, whatever it may be, that'll all be cool. But player housing was kind of their big surprise, cool new feature for Midnight. What will the last Titan ones be? I'm not exactly sure. Now, for Blizzard, there are, of course, other video games. Over the last while, on their site, we have seen no shortage of job openings for unannounced titles. As an example, there are a few that are for an unannounced Unreal 5 engine game. There's one that sounds like it's for a full-blown AAA game, and another one that sounds like a new mobile game. Woohoo. Plus, I'm also sure it's no coincidence that this announcement came the same day that Johanna Faris finished a big media round. Now, as a part of her media round, she talked to Windows Central. And if you're not aware, by the way, she's the new president of Blizzard. And in the interview, she said they're in time to throw out some curveballs, and she gave a knowing smile when asked about the future of StarCraft, which at least excites me. I really would like more StarCraft. From what I understand, though, the future of StarCraft is likely not RTS. It is almost certainly shooting or, something like that. She also said the Blizzard are having conversations about adaptations as well. I guess it's putting the entertainment in Blizzard Entertainment because they're not called Blizzard Games. Obviously, their projects with NetEase failed whenever the companies fell out, but that was years ago. Anyway, by the time BlizzCon comes, it also sounds like that might even be the time to, go and launch the Classic Plus idea. To me, it feels like a foregone conclusion, and seriously, there is so much lore that could drive so many things all set before the Burning Crusade, so they could get a shitload of content from Classic Plus. Let's be real, Blizzard are also a business, one owned by Microsoft. They will want more money. We can trust that incentive, and I think that incentive means that Classic Plus makes sense. That's it from me. If you want to catch some lore though, well, Xal'atath just got owned. You can learn why in the next video.